Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about some of my favorite colourful eyeshadow palettes. Now recently I did a video talking about my favorite Basic Bitch palettes, and Basic Bitch palettes are really where my heart lies at the moment. They are my favorite. It's what I'm wearing typically on a daily basis, except for when I'm testing out other eyeshadows. However, in that video I did mention maybe I should also do a colourful version, and a few people said that they wanted to see that. So I went through my collection of palettes, which has dwindled over the years with a lot of decluttering, and I started to pull out some colourful palettes that I really enjoy. And what I have realised is that indie is where it's at, alright? I think we already knew that. Indie brands make the best fucking colourful eyeshadow palettes, and I pretty much have things just from very specific brands. This video is going to differ a little bit from my Basic Bitch palettes video because in that video I had like a specific set of palettes. In this video, I'm focusing more on brands. So I won't be swatching every single palette because we'll be here for 5 years and I don't want to be here for 5 years. So I'm going to start with BOCAJ. Now, this brand probably wouldn't have made the cut for this video, but not too long ago they took a whole bunch of their like standard size typical palettes and turned them into these like very compact mini palettes. Now I have the most colorful one that I have would be this guy. It is a Petite Pro in Soleil, and it is it's perfection. This is a little 8-pan palette. It reminds me of sunsets. It's beautiful. I love it. I also have the Spritz Edit, which isn't really all that colorful, but I just wanted to show you like the format of these little palettes. And I also have the Paris Edit, which also is not colorful, but they do have quite a wide range of colorful palettes in their standard range, and they have recently turned them into these little edit palettes, which is just perfection for me. I absolutely love small palettes, small eyeshadow pans, especially when it comes to colorful eyeshadows, because it's a type of eyeshadow that I wear the least. Now, if you only wear colorful eyeshadow and you never wear boring Basic Bitch colors like I do, then, you know, obviously you're going to want them in a full size, but you can totally get them from BOCAJ in a full size. One thing that I will say about the formula of these eyeshadows is, please don't crucify me, but it is absolutely not the best that I've ever tried. I would actually say it varies from shade to shade. Some of them are mediocre, some of them are good, some of them are great. So that is something to keep in mind. However, I do really enjoy my little edit palettes from BOCAJ, and there are a few that I have my eye on. These ones contain 12 eyeshadows and they are just about the size of my palm, which is fantastic. Super compact, good sturdy packaging for travel as well, and they do have a mirror. I never use the mirror, but it's fine. They also come with a nice little plastic overlay to keep your mirror clean. So I love these. I think the packaging is really fantastic. It is only cardboard, but it's sturdy. It's got a nice little magnet as well to keep everything closed, and I love them. I just love them, okay? Another brand that I really love for colorful eyeshadows is Colored Rain. Now, look, I don't know how many of these palettes are still available. I think, as far as I'm aware, you can still get Safari Rain, but it might be on pre-order, and I think you can still get the Queen of Hearts palette, which doesn't surprise me because that's probably the best one that they made. Now, the reason why I love Colored Rain is they make really nice, cool color stories. This one here is Cheers to the Beauty. It is obnoxiously large. Like, she takes up more of the screen than I do. And I'm a grown-ass human being. So there's that. I wouldn't say that they make, you know, the best petite palettes, but that's fine. And I should mention they do make petite palettes. I have quite a few of them. This one here is the Coloured Rain Power palette, which is really beautiful. That's mostly purples and reds. You know me, I love purples and reds. They also had Safari Rain, which was a really beautiful palette, and I think this was wildly popular. I believe this is still available as well. And I also have the Queen of Hearts, and I've got to say the Queen of Hearts is just such a beautiful palette. This is a bit more on the neutral side, but it does sort of encompass those really beautiful, like, purpley and gold sort of colors, which, look, gold, it's probably too neutral. This probably shouldn't be in the video, but Coloured Rain have an absolutely outstanding, amazing formula, and they make great colourful palettes. What has happened to them? I feel like I fell off the bandwagon of keeping track of them, and I'm totally out of the loop with what they're doing, but Coloured Rain make fantastic eyeshadows. Their formula is outstanding. Their mattes are so pigmented and smooth. Their metallics are, oh god, don't drop the palette. They're rich and vibrant. I just, like, what can I say? Indie brands is where it's at for colourful eyeshadows. They give a fuck. They really do. They give a fuck about their formula, and it shows. Let's talk about another indie brand and prepare some more space for swatching. Lethal Cosmetics. Now, Lethal is kind of newish to me. This was, oh, I can't remember what this palette was called. The Night Flower palette. Now, this is very purple and blue, but Lethal Cosmetics do colourful palettes as well. So, you know, a bit more diverse colour, if you get what I'm saying. Now, the formula of Lethal Cosmetics, again, like, you can just, you can tell that they absolutely care about the formula of their eyeshadows. Their mattes are really pigmented and super smooth. They blend so nicely, and their shimmers are rich and vibrant and sparkly and light reflective and interesting. Lethal Cosmetics makes really interesting, like, duochrome and multichrome eyeshadows as well. So if that's a bit more of your flavor, I would definitely recommend checking them out. This palette was sent in PR, and I'm so glad it was, because it was a brand that I wanted to try, but they never, like, released a palette that I was like, I must own that. This purple palette, though, was very much up my alley and the type of thing that I would wear, and when they said, hey, do you want to try it? I was like, hell yes, I want to try it. I had heard good things about Lethal Cosmetics, and I really wanted to try it for myself, and I'm so glad that I have, because those people that were saying good things, they were correct. Next brand is Violet Voss. Now, Violet Voss, there are things about the brand that I don't like, mostly their fonts. But when it comes to their formula, these are fantastic. Now, this palette here is the Bright Vibes palette, and it's bright. She's borderline neon. In fact, some of these shades are neon. This palette, I do not use it often, but when I do whip this out, it is so handy. And it's usually when, like, we're having, you know, like a special type of party, like a dress-up party for friends or something, and they're doing something themed, and they're like, Hailey, makeup help, please. This palette has been great for that. And the formula is just so easy to work with. They're really vibrant, rich, bright eyeshadows. Again, these guys are all matte, and often when you're playing with, like, matte formulas of eyeshadows like this, you can run into patchiness, lacking, like, richness of pigmentation. They can be difficult to blend, but I haven't experienced that with any of these eyeshadows. Most popular shades that my friends like are like the blues and the purples. I'm a bit more of your red, orange, yellow kind of girl. But I was really surprised by the formula of these eyeshadows. I do have another Violet Voss palette as well. It's just not colorful, but what can I say? Like, okay, I don't really like the aesthetic of the brand, like the packaging visually and all that stuff. And you know, if you're a long-time viewer of beauty news, you probably heard some of our rants, but I have to give credit where credit is due. The formula is really fantastic, and they do have a great range of colorful and even more neutral palettes, if you know, if you're that way inclined as well, like I am. So I definitely would recommend Violet Voss to anyone who is looking for really good quality, beautiful, easy to use, colorful eyeshadows. My last brand is a favorite of mine, and I have received all of these in PR, so that is something to keep in mind. It is Kaleidos. Now, Kaleidos sort of, they cover a whole bunch of bases that I really enjoy. And that is nice formulas, small eyeshadow pans, and compact palettes. They also do larger palettes as well though. Now, they have quite a good range of eyeshadows. This one here is a fave. It is the Lunar Lavender palette. In this same collection, they also released Sashimi City, which is a stunner. However, this one is not, it's not colorful, but because they're, you know, part of a pair, I figured I'd bring them both out. Some other palettes that they've done that have been very well received, as far as I'm aware, were this guy, which is the Flower Punk palette. This is still available, and this is stunning. This was something that, like, green lovers, I mean, it's made for them, you know, green and blue, and a little bit of those sort of rosy pink shades as well. The Escape Pod was very popular. This one is very, very, like, you know, this is a lot more up my alley of what I like with colorful eyeshadows. You know, the purples, the pinks, the oranges, these beautiful, beautiful, sparkly duochrome shades were stunning. I really should dig into this palette, actually. I loved it. These are a little bit more subtle, but they paired really beautifully with the mattes in the palette. And of course, I cannot talk about Kaleidos and not mention this palette. However, I'm very sorry if you see it and fall in love with it. It's discontinued. It was a limited edition. This is the Club Nebula palette that they did with Angie as a collaboration, and it is beautiful. It touches on so many bases. You've got the blues and the greens. You've got some more, like, you know, grungy and neutral colors, and then you've got a bit more of like the vibrant, warmer sort of shades. I loved this palette, even though there was a whole lot in here that I don't gravitate to because blues and greens just don't suit me as well. I just found it like so easy to wear, and also the Kaleidos formula is really, really lovely. I find it to be like, look at that red shade. It is just exceptional. Really beautiful, sparkly, ethereal feeling, like shimmery shades. The mattes are all beautiful and rich. I'll swatch more mattes. I always gravitate towards swatching like the sparkly shades because I'm like a magpie and I'm like, oh, look at that, that's beautiful. But we really cannot discount the mattes that Kaleidos make because they are really, really lovely. I would say some of the mattes are not as pigmented and rich as what you might find with, say, Coloured Rain or even Violet Voss, but they are a very good formula and they blend nicely on the eye, and I haven't experienced any patchiness or anything like that, which can be an issue that you run into, especially when you're like playing with more vibrant, brighter colorful shades, if they contain like white pigments or if they're bordering on fluorescent. Often some of the pigments used to create those sorts of colors, they can be difficult to work with, and they just don't really sit on the eye that well. But I haven't really experienced that with Kaleidos, so that's really nice. I like Kaleidos as a brand. Also, something I do love, they do fun collections essentially. Whenever they do these sorts of collections, they will, you know, have something that's almost like a merch type item that's not actually makeup related. So for example, when they did the Club Nebula palette with Angie, they released a deck of playing cards that had like the Club Nebula artwork on it, which was really cool. And while that's, you know, it's not makeup, so a lot of people are going to be like, I don't give a shit. I kind of like that, you know, they've chosen a small niche and they're just sticking with it. They're like, that's our thing, and you know, we're going with it. So I like that. So if I had a friend come into my life and ask for advice on what brands to look at or what palettes to buy if they wanted to pick up a colorful palette, these are the brands that I would recommend. And these are the exact palettes that I would pull out and show them and tell them to play with and swatch and get a feel for and see if they like them. I really like these palettes, and now that I have them out here, I'm kind of like, oh, I want to take them inside and play with some of them. These are also the colorful palettes that have survived many eyeshadow palette declutter videos, so you know that I like the formula of these guys. Okay guys, so that's it for my favorite colorful palettes and the brands that they come from. Let me know if I talked about any of your favorites in this video, or if you have others, share them with me down in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.